Good morning and welcome to the Raben Report. I'm your host, Elliot Raben, so get ready to get triggered. Good morning again to the Raben Report. We are back for the second time this morning, for the second time with my expert panel as the host, Elliot Raben. We just had some major technical difficulties, but I managed to fix them. So, hi guys.
Good job.
Again.
Hey,
What up?
glad to be here.
Just
Again.
Glad to be back.
Yeah, it was rough. They had us in the first half, won't lie.
Yeah.
But we are back, so you know what that means. That means that we have less time to talk. But what we're going to do, to begin, as for Spirit Life rules and regulations, all opinions expressed are not those of on the show are not those of Ryerson or Ryerson faculty and are only those of the individual commentators. Viewer discretion is advised. So we're going to start. We had a whole recap of the week segment for you with a couple stories, but we're going to focus on one very important one, that being the midterm elections. We're just going to touch briefly on it because the main topic for our show today is the Olympics. So let's talk about it.
Oh boy.
So,
The midterm elections.
for people who don't necessarily know why the midterms are so huge and why they're so different from the
Huge.
presidential elections, people vote much less in midterms. But the people who do vote in midterms are the very politically engaged. So certain issues will be issues more so in the midterms. So, a politician, an individual politician who's running for Senate or running for the House of Representatives, their scandals will have a much bigger impact because the people who are voting care enough about politics to focus more on the individual, on the politician, than the party, which is why you see flips so often. And so right now what we've got is Senate race with 33 senators running in elections. There's 33 every 2 years for a total of 6-year terms for each senator with cycling elections. And then all 435 seats in the House of Representatives up for re-election.
So that was from up from re-election from the previous 2 years then? And so
Yeah, so they get 2-year terms in the House of Representatives.
That's stressful.
Wait, I didn't know. I forgot that House of Representatives get 2-year terms. Oh, I thought they got a lot longer, like 4. Wait, do we get MPs get 4 here?
Yep, 4.
Yeah, there's no midterms in Canada.
Yeah, but that's like
And so, I mean, there's a couple interesting races, and it's a big thing because if the GOP, if the Republicans lose control of either house, either the House of Representatives or the Senate, the two houses that make up Congress, the Republicans are likely to retain the Senate and possibly lose the House of Representatives. The election is tonight. The results will be coming in
1 a.m.
1 a.m. for the final results, but I think we'll know how things are going much before that.
Yeah.
And so I mean, Adam, if you want to talk about a couple contenders that you might know about.
Well, there's the blue wave. That's essentially what a lot of lefties and Democrats are banking on. It's sort of the momentum and the momentum of this sort of distrust and hate towards the Trump administration, shifting a lot of the people who did not vote in the 2016 election and possibly voted for Donald Trump in the 2016 election to vote for Democratic candidates, and many of the down ballot candidates. And for those of you who don't know, I'm very passionate about paying attention to your down ballot candidates. The down ballot candidates, like in the House of Representatives and a lot of mayor elections, governor elections are going to be happening at the same time as the midterms in many states.
Of course. A bunch of states are electing governors too.
Yeah, and a lot of them are endorsed by sort of more left-wing, let's say the left-wing faction of the Democratic Party.
it's more like a progressive or social democratic
the social,
thing.
like the Bernie Sanders
Yeah.
brand of conservative, to keep it short.
It's a very vague way to
Yeah,
describe it.
Ocasio-Cortez, Andrew Gillum in Florida.
Keith Ellison.
What is he running for?
North Carolina, I believe. No, I can't remember what.
Keith
state it
Edelson's
is.
running for something?
Yeah,
Oh.
He's the Nation of Islam guy, right? Did I get his name right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Ellison?
But he ran for the chairman of the DNC and lost. I don't know if he's running for anything.
I could have sworn he was running for something. I might be wrong on that.
Who else? The governor running in Georgia.
Yes.
Her name.
I can't remember her
I
name.
can't
either.
remember her name either.
Running against Brian Kemp.
Yeah.
I'm so conservative. I blow up government spending.
Anyway.
I got a big truck in case I got to round up some illegals and take them home myself.
That was terrible. That was terrible. Oh God, the state of America is just insane.
Have you seen the ad about Trump and the Democrats letting that criminal in?
I haven't seen it, but I've heard that even Fox is pulling it, so it has to be bad. Anyway,
So it looks like that Ellison's running for Keith Ellison.
yeah.
I think he's running for Attorney General.
Oh, that's what
Something
it
like
is.
that.
okay.
So it's not a House of Representatives or
Yeah,
something
okay,
like that, but
Sorry, I didn't know.
still important.
Yeah.
Just-
Anyway, to finish off with what I'm saying, I agree with Marshall. I think the Democrats will definitely take the House back and will not take the Senate. I think that the Senate is skewed against Democrats from the get-go. As it works right now, there is some momentum. I have a friend who's a very wise political commentator. My friend Hans and McMaster. He's predicted many of the last elections. He's predicting a 51-49 Democratic Senate.
So he's predicting the Democrats will
Yeah,
win.
he was predicting the
Senate?
Democrats will win. Yeah,
okay.
yeah. He's betting on a lot of momentum from the sort of blue wave, swing left sort of thing, helping a lot of key races. In Missouri, I think the Democrat candidate is up by 1 point. But the most contentious race for me is Beto O'Rourke versus Ted Cruz in Texas. There has not been a strong Democrat candidate in Texas for such a long time. And
especially in a red state. Like,
yeah, and for those of you who don't know Beto O'Rourke, he's like sort of the young, they're calling him the next Obama. He went viral a little while ago for his response to Colin Kaepernick kneeling for the anthem, which was very well done. And there is a chance that he might retake Texas. There is a lot of contentious polling stations in Texas right now. They're saying that 30% of the polling stations in some of the biggest districts are reported that they'll switch votes versus...
I mean, I saw a video of it,
Yeah.
but I don't know how credible that can be if it's from a previous election or not. But
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm going to go ahead and say that Beto O'Rourke does not win and that Ted Cruz retains his seat. I think that for Texas, he's the wrong guy.
You think so?
I think that he chose the wrong state to run in. I mean, he's from Texas, so I guess that makes sense. But he's very left wing. He did the abolish ICE thing. He's huge on DACA.
He's
These
alienating way
These
too
are
many
not
Republican
popular
voters.
things with the voting bloc in Texas. If he wanted to win, I would say he should go to California or Oregon. And I think he'd do just fine there. But
He's a Texan, is he not?
He is a Texan, yes. But I mean, a lot of people run in places that they're not from.
Patrick Brown won Brampton, even though he's not from.
So we're
Any of those
talking Ted
locations he
Cruz,
ran
right?
for?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Ted Cruz might.
First of all, he shouldn't be governor because he's Canadian. So
No.
state that fact.
He's,
I'm joking.
it's Senate that he's running for.
Sorry.
Well, he might be
oh, he
cruising.
switched to Senate.
He was never governor.
Ted Cruz.
He's been a senator for a long time.
My bad.
Yeah.
Excuse, that's a L for today, but thank you.
Well, as a segue to our main topic, he might be cruising to a win. You never know.
Bazinga.
With 20 minutes left, we're going to talk about our main subject of the show, which is the 2026 Calgary Olympic bid. Now, we're talking today about the unification of nations through sport in Canada 7 years down the road. The city of Calgary, Alberta, is preparing to potentially make another bid to host the Winter Olympics in Canada in 2026. The Alberta government has offered to pledge $700 million for the Games, while the federal government has committed to up to $1.75 billion to match anything that the Alberta government and the Calgary government contribute. There will be a referendum on November 13th on if Calgary decides to bid, and advanced voting actually opens today and tomorrow. So if you're in Calgary, make sure to vote. If the referendum is a success and the prevailing answer is yes, the official vote for the host country will be in June. The question on everyone's mind is it worth it? Now you might be thinking, Why are we talking about this on this show, political show? Well, because we'll be talking about the, economic, the cultural benefits of hosting the Olympics, right? We'll find out what our expert panel thinks, and we'll find out what you, the viewers, think based on our poll, which closed as of 11:15, and we'll get Marshall tweeted out. But before we start, remember we are live on Facebook, so you can comment on our feed to have your thoughts read live on air. So let's begin. Marshall, what is... You're stretching there?
Sorry.
Ready?
Yeah. I'm good to go.
Marshall, can you pull up our poll and tell us what the viewers said and how many people voted?
It's coming up, just loading. So this phone is very old and very slow. She's not doing too well. So it's how many votes did we get? 63 votes,
which is really, really good.
And 37% said yes, we should bid on the Olympics, and 63% said no, we shouldn't.
Interesting.
Sounds about right. I agree with that.
I agree with that too.
Yeah.
I'm really surprised because I thought more people would say yes.
Nah.
I think it's a good sign because I think that people are starting to see how bad the Olympics can be for a country. Especially with all the negative attention that, what was it?
Greece, Athens,
Brazil,
No,
Rio,
no.
Montreal.
Athens was 18 years ago. No, it's Brazil had the Olympics.
Rio,
didn't they?
yeah, Rio. Had
Yeah,
it.
they did. I want
Yeah,
to make sure right
yeah,
off.
Yeah, you're right.
So yeah, and that was, for lack of a better word, a shit show. It was really bad for the people of Brazil.
I know for a fact there was a lot of gentrification that happened, and they tried hiding the poor.
They
the poor
raised a
people.
lot of the favelas. They built walls around the favelas to
Yeah.
block them from stadiums. They cleared out favelas to build stadiums. Like, they really, really screwed over the poor people
Yeah,
of Brazil.
exactly.
And the same thing happens when we have a World Cup or what have you, the World Cup in South Africa. One thing that was really garnering a lot of negative attention is in the city of Durban. Now, Durban's known as a nice city in South Africa. It's not. It's really not. It's a big
But it's known as,
misconception.
though.
I like to think of myself as a bit of a South Africa expert. I'm a bit of a South Africa geek.
Weird flex, but okay.
Well, Southern Africa in general, Zimbabwe, Namibia, etc.
Weird flex. But okay.
And so Durban is actually one of the
Geographical
it's one of the deadliest cities in the world, one of the highest murder rates in the world. And it's also got a terrible poverty rate. But when you go to Durban, not that I've been, but this is the problem, is you don't see it because the government really hides the decrepit.
So they kind of use
away.
the same tactics that the Brazilian
And that
government
really
did in Rio
began
then.
with the World Cup in South Africa when they
2010,
had an arena in Durban. And they didn't want the tourists to see all the poor people, so they really made efforts to displace people and move them out of where they're living. And so, that said, we don't have that kind of problem in Canada so much. What we do have in Calgary and in Alberta in general is a pretty low employment rate. And I just worry about people who are unemployed and who are
Like it's below the
not
national
doing well.
average and stuff, or like, it's just doing bad. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's below the national average.
It's
I don't have
not.
the stats.
It's not doing well. The reliance on oil really screwed them over when the oil.
It's gotten better though
Yeah.
since like 3 years ago, but it's still not great.
Right.
And so I worry about these out of work people who might be. Not that I think the Canadian government's going to forcibly displace anybody, but they'll
do it nicely.
Yeah, they might be nicely displaced.
Yeah, that's what the Canadian government is notorious for. We'll nicely displace you.
Yeah.
We won't actually displace you. It's like those photos at the border of Canadian border agencies picking up, migrant children. It's like, we're nicely arresting you.
Yeah.
I was in an archaeology course that isn't relevant in the moment, but it'll be relevant in a second. I was in an archaeology course last semester, last year, and we were talking about Greece's economy and should Greece retain the Parthenon marbles, which are these marbles that are now in the British Museum and they rightfully belong to Greece, and changed my mind, but. A big argument for that was that Greece could not sustain the Olympics, and I think that the effect that it basically bankrupted the country. And if you look at many other countries that have hosted the Olympics,
So you're saying Athens 2004?
I
2004.
I thought it was 2000.
Was it?
Something like that.
It might have
I
been
mean,
the-
the
it
year,
might-
Wait, no, I was only 3 in 2000. I wouldn't remember it if it was 2000. Yeah, probably
Yeah.
2004 then.
I think it was 2000, but
Yeah?
yeah, who cares?
I think Australia.
I think, yeah,
Sydney.
2000.
What
2004
year
was
were
Sydney,
the
yeah, yeah.
Olympics in Athens?
oh, okay. Just talk to your phone. That's
I found this on the web for what year
2004 Summer Olympics.
Yeah.
was
Yeah, because 2008
That
was
was
Torino.
Athens.
Oh,
That was
okay.
Italy,
Yeah,
right?
Athens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, well.
Okay, now we
Anyway.
got that out of the
Anyway.
way.
And if you look at many other countries, even states or provinces that have held the Olympics, they've all gotten really screwed over.
Yeah.
Atlanta in 90 something, the facilities are a ghost town. They were so under maintained. In Sochi, the main road from the airport to the stadium, if you built it with 2 inches of the world's most expensive caviar, it would have still been cheaper than the actual cost of the road. Where else? Montreal did not go well in
Yeah, 72.
so that's
yeah.
what I was gonna ask. One of my next questions: how has Montreal's economy been affected post games?
It's fine now, but they were in debt for a very, very long time.
See, that's the problem with the games. The games are too expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think hosting the Olympics is actually a good thing in general.
Yeah.
But we've hosted it, it's not something you want to do
All the time.
Yeah.
all the time.
Because
And-
think about it. We had Vancouver 2010.
Yeah.
In the one city in
Right.
Canada that doesn't have winter, we had the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, and we had Calgary. Calgary did it before,
88.
didn't they?
Yeah.
88.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess
That's
that was,
when the Jamaican bobsledding
Yeah.
team.
that was long enough ago, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, we just had Vancouver.
Yeah.
We had Montreal not too long ago, and
I may take like an elitist perspective from this, but like I
Oof.
genuinely think that LDCs shouldn't be hosting the
what's
Olympics.
LDC?
Host, less developed countries or least
Oh.
developed countries. That's like the new term that my global political economy professor Sorpong Po is using.
I've never heard that.
Yeah, I don't,
Yeah,
I
me
don't know
neither.
why.
I've heard it before, but
I don't know why he's. I guess it's a more academic term that I'm using.
yeah.
But either way.
I agree with that. I don't think that's an elitist perspective. I think it's just bad for those countries.
Exactly. Like we should like Calgary is actually a good option for us.
Yeah.
It's just not financially viable for us to do it.
Yeah.
We should do it just because we're a big and we're a strong country, but
So-
like the financial risk that we're gonna take is just too much. Because like, how many millions of dollars does it take just to fill in the application for the bid? I know that costs
you
like
you
a
have to pay
shit ton.
just to apply.
Exactly.
Here-
So, sorry, I just wanted to
Yeah.
ask then, because Calgary has the infrastructure,
Yeah.
does that make it easier or increase the positivity or the pros of bidding?
I would say yes. Here's a few issues or additions that I have to that. The infrastructure is from the 80s. It will need to be updated. It will need to be revamped. It will need to be changed up a little bit. But my biggest issue is that if we're having the argument, we're not arguing that right now, but if we're starting the argument of whether or not the Olympics should be continued, with climate change, there are very few cities left in the world that can host the Winter Olympics. Canada has many of the cities that will be able to host the Winter Olympics in the coming decades. Calgary is one of them. Calgary's winters get to below minus 40.
Yeah.
Expected.
We have a certain responsibility.
Yeah,
to do
we
that?
have
Okay.
almost a duty as a northern country
Yeah.
with a cold climate to host.
Why don't we just dump a bunch
Winter
of snow in
Games.
Qatar and just have the Olympics there?
Well,
Like,
they have an indoor skating rink. They have indoor skiing.
Well, here's-
they put ACs in all of the soccer stadiums they're gonna have for 2022.
Yeah.
It's such bullshit. Don't even get me started on the World Cup, man. Oh my god.
We'll probably talk about that as well. But here's another question: why is it Calgary that's always the one bidding for the Olympics? You don't see, obviously, Montreal. It's too hot there, but you don't see Vancouver saying like, "Hey, it was great. Let's do it again."
Because they realized they fucked up when the
it was
first time.
bad.
Yeah.
It was bad.
Aside from all
that's
the
a-
gold medals we got, I'm so happy for it. It's
I
just
mean,
not.
we can really
worth
only
it.
speculate on that because like I've never thought about that before. Why have they bid on it
See?
multiple times now? But
Yeah, this isn't the first time that they've bid since 1988.
That's what I'm saying. Why is it only them and why not Vancouver?
I don't know.
Why
I
does
think
why
it
does
put
they know they
Calgary
can
on the
handle
map.
it, yeah.
I think it put
Yeah.
Calgary on the map.
you
Vancouver's
then-
already on the map.
you think it's going to create a lot of jobs and boost the economy, or you think we're
No,
going to just
no.
lose
It
money?
doesn't.
No.
It
So
doesn't.
this is where
I'll
this
say
is a
something about
common
that after.
thing that people say about the Olympics, and they talk about all these cultural benefits and how it puts a place on the map. Where were the Korean Olympics held? What cities?
Pyeongchang.
Okay.
Was it?
Okay,
I don't think it
couldn't name
was.
I think it
I
was.
thought it was Seoul.
No, it was Pyeongchang.
Yeah,
But
Pyeongchang.
I think that is Pyeongchang on the map?
No.
No. The Korean Olympics did not put Pyeongchang on the map. I don't think the Russian Olympics.
Do you know about Turin? Do you know where
I know.
Turin is?
Well, I know about Turin only because I'm a soccer guy. But,
yeah, but do you know about Turin then? That's the
yeah.
Exactly. That was
the
2008.
Olympics
in
does
Italy.
not put anybody on the map unless it's like a country or a place that literally nobody knew about, and then they might have it in the back of their head. When I'm actually really big on big cultural projects that invoke patriotism or nationalism, which is why I think Canada needs a space program.
Hot take.
But
We got the
Hot
Canadarm.
yes,
not
which
the
is
same,
great,
though.
which is fantastic.
We
but,
lent a hand, if you know what I mean.
I don't think we need to get other people attracted to us. We need to get Canadians attracted to us. And
think
does the
there's
Olympics do that?
You think
maybe
there's
a bit,
you
but there are
think
better ways.
You think there's a lack of patriotism in Canada?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think that it's.
Yeah, I can
it's-
agree to that.
And I guess living beside the U.S. makes it tough because when you go to the U.S., you see how stark the difference is. But I don't think it's a lot to ask for me to see flags in people's yards, flags hanging from people's houses, red and white sprinkles on vanilla dip donuts at Tim Hortons.
Well, we only see that a couple of times a
Yeah,
a
that's
few
like
years.
the week leading up to Canada Day.
Yeah.
yeah, and so if we have something to be proud of.
Yeah.
Or to instill more proudness, more nationalism and patriotism, then that's fantastic. I don't think the Olympics does that really. Unless you do really well in it.
But that's part of a much bigger Canadian problem, like an apathy problem.
Mm-hmm.
I think we have a widespread apathy problem in Canada, not just for our own patriotism, but for any issues in general. We have abysmal voter turnout.
Yeah.
we just don't care as a people for our own country.
Yeah, I can definitely agree. We need a culture change in our Canadian society
Yeah.
to fix that kind of stuff, and that's obviously that doesn't happen overnight. But
No,
it's just difficult.
we have to get people invested. I don't know how.
I do
that.
think some people would argue that the Olympics are a step in the right direction to get that happening, but I just think there's more effective ways to do that. Aside from the fact that the Olympics itself is just a corrupt organization, and so is FIFA. The amount of money they steal from everyone, the amount of people they use. They literally exploit in the form of volunteers. That way they don't pay anyone to help organize the events and stuff like that. It's total bullshit.
So you think the IOC is just as corrupt as FIFA?
I think it's the most corrupt
Less,
organization.
Definitely less.
I think
okay.
less corrupt than FIFA.
Okay, I just put them in two in the same. They're just
Yeah,
very big international sport or committee.
So then-
FIFA's on another level. Though.
oh yeah, I can agree to that.
So
I
then,
can agree to
is the Olympics really worth it to continue it? Because I know we
Oh, there needs
I
to be
think
reform,
Someone
but
brought it
yes.
up, but is it worth it? Do we really need to keep having the Olympics?
Yeah.
We had the Toronto Pan Am Games,
It's not the same.
which was
It's not the same. That's what.
True,
That's exactly
but-
what I'm talking about, though. Because when I wanted to volunteer for that, I got the whole swag. I got the jacket, the
Same.
backpack. I'm like, yo, this is sick. And then they look at my volunteer schedule. They want me to come in 9 a.m. to 11:30 p.m. or some bullshit like that. And I'm not getting paid
Elliot,
for
you worked
this.
the village.
I didn't work the village. I
And
worked
I was
at York
supposed to work in the
University.
I was supposed to work in the village too. So it's like,
But see that's funny because I was excited about that. When my schedule said we need you for this time, I purposely came earlier
yeah.
and I stayed later just because I had so much fun.
But I get it's a fun thing, but that's literally exploitation by definition. How is it unless I know volunteering you're choosing to go, but I don't think you should be.
Yeah, when you
free.
when you sign up,
Well-
you shouldn't be expected to do 14
Well, no,
hour
you could. There was obviously there were breaks and there's food and there's a lot of other stuff. It wasn't a sweatshop by any means.
Yeah.
If it was a sweatshop, it'd be the most fun sweatshop I've ever been in because I really enjoyed the experience. But that's interesting that you
Tell that
I
to
don't,
you.
I don't
Tell-
think it's
yeah.
wrong for them to do that. I just think it's not in their best interest because who's going to want to volunteer if you are expecting 14-hour shifts and that kind of thing?
Well,
Whenever
no,
I
they had 23,000 volunteers.
Yeah.
It wasn't a small project.
That's insane.
Whenever I volunteer for something and they're especially demanding of the volunteers, all I can think is, all you're doing is hurting your own cause here.
Yeah.
I'm working for free here. It's why not make this easy for both of us, right?
If we're gonna
But-
make the argument that these Olympics and all of these international events benefit our country and our economy, how are they gonna benefit it if all the people who are working and could have actually been helping the economy working instead, and they're not getting paid, and so they
Do
should
you
just
think
get paid.
that you think that everybody working on the Olympics should be paid. There shouldn't be any volunteers
Not
at all.
every single person, but like if you have a decent job, or if you have something like important, or if you're getting at least spending that much time in one day, like I'm not expecting you to get paid like maybe above minimum wage, but something close to it at least.
So like a little honorarium.
Yeah, like and at least an appreciation for your time. No one's saying you got to pay them a shit ton of money, but like
I mean, the
You
meals.
just gotta be
have,
respectful.
we have 3 voter comments here, all from our number one friend, Sam, our number one fan, rather, Sam.
Thank you.
He says, I don't think climate change has affected global temperatures that much that we need to have it here constantly or consistently. And I think he's right for now. I don't think that...
For now, in the very, very immediate future.
Yeah, I think that we, the global climate is still able to support the Winter Olympics in a number of places.
Give it 12 years.
And then he also says, my grandma lives in Boston, and she's the only one on her street that flies a huge flag in her yard. It's a Western problem, but nationalism is especially meaningless in Canada. Now, I'd agree with him, but since I know Sam, I know that I don't actually agree with him on that, but I agree with him on the surface of that statement. And then he finally says, you mean like the CPC, LOL, and I'm not sure what he's referring to there, so if you're still listening, Sam, just go ahead and clear that up.
What does that stand for?
Conservative Party of Canada, but I'm not sure what he's referring to with that. But
do they not pay their volunteers? No, I don't know.
Oh,
Is that what it is?
That's exactly what it is. And that's exactly what I was thinking of. And no, you know what? Like, I've had some excellent experiences volunteering on political campaigns. I've had some very bad ones. And, at the end of the day, it's the politician who's, getting hurt by not treating their volunteers well.
So we do have to wrap up. The last thing I'm going to ask is, what do you think the referendum results will be? Do you think that it'll be a huge yes, huge no? Just quick, Adam, what do you think?
I think it'll be a tight vote, but I think the answer will be no.
No? Marshall?
I think the answer will be no. I think people are really sick of the Olympics.
And Daniel?
I'll say yes. Yeah,
Say yes?
maybe, but
I think it'll be tight as well. I think ultimately it might be yes, because I feel like people just think like Olympics is great without really,
especially since it's been so
considering-
long.
Yeah.
What was it
88.
88.
Yeah. But that was our show for this week. Thank you to everyone that tuned in and that messaged us live.
Especially for helping us with our technical issues.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah,
you,
thank you,
whoever.
Zareen.
Thank you. Remember, guys, we are approaching a milestone on the Raben Report. We're approaching our 50th episode. So we're planning something for you guys. We're planning a huge special, so make sure to stay tuned. More details will be announced soon. But until then, a brand new episode of the Raben Report will be coming to you next week, hopefully for the full time without any technical difficulties. But next week, same day, same time, same people. Have a great day, everyone.